Hey students, Alex from Mizu Education here. Algebra is one of, if not the most important skill in maths. And to get started to truly master this skill, we need to start somewhere. In our case, the terminology. Now this video will be the start of an algebra series, and we'll continue to do this for all the other maths topics too. So without further ado, put on your set of headphones and let's zone in. Alright, to understand the terminology of algebra, let's go through an example of how it may be presented to us. For example, we may get presented with something like this. 5x plus 2 is equal to 7. Now, when looking at algebra and its terminology, if we look at this entire thing as a whole, this is known as an equation. Now, equations have a particular point that we need to keep in mind, and that is the presence of an equal sign. Without an equal sign, it is not known as an equation. The next piece of terminology is to look just by isolating at this component over here. Now, just this is known as an expression. In expressions, what we can see is that they are a group of these different components of algebra, but they don't have the presence of an equal sign. That is what differentiates an expression from an equation. The next piece of terminology is to look at these whole numbers. Now, these whole numbers are known as constants. Next, we can also see the presence of a letter. Now, this letter is given the name of pronumeral, or it can also be given the name variable. We can also see that in front of this pronumeral is a number. Now, the number that occurs before the pronumeral, this is known as a coefficient. Finally, looking at the combination of letters and numbers, or just letters and numbers by themselves, they can be given the name terms. So for example, in this scenario over here, 5x, 2, and 7 are all given the name terms. And we can see that they are their own isolated groups. Now let's again quickly run through another example that goes through all those different pieces of terminology. Now in this example, let's try 7x plus 3 is equal to 10. Now, if I asked what is this as an entirety, what terminology would you give this? This is known as an equation. The reason this is known as an equation is because we have one side equaling to the other side. This presence of an equal sign shows that it's an equation. Next is to look at this in isolation. Now, this in isolation is known as an expression, given that there are no equal signs present and that there is a combination of both terms and pronumerals and constants put together. Next is to look at just our whole numbers, so the numbers and standalone numbers that are by themselves. For example, 3 and 10. These are known as constants. Next is to look at our letters. Now the letters, they are given the name pronumeral or variable. After that, we can look at the number that comes in front of the pronumeral. This number that comes in front of the pronumeral is known as a coefficient. Finally, we can group everything together in its small components. 7x, 3, and 10, all of these are known as terms individually. So 7x is a term, 3 is a term, and 10 is a term. Alright, now that we've covered all the content regarding the terminology of algebra, let's do a quick quiz. The question is, 8x plus 3 plus x is equal to 22. And what your goal here is to find what is classed as an equation, what is classed as an expression, what are the different pronumerals, coefficients, constants, and what are the overall terms. All right, have a go. Okay, hopefully you were able to do that. If not, that's okay. Let's go through this together. So, starting off, let's find out what is classed as an equation. The equation is this as an entirety, as we have one side equaling to the other side. Next, let's find out what is an expression. The expression in this case is just this group isolated over here without the equal sign. So 8x plus 3 plus x is classed as our expression. Okay, next, let's look into what are our constants. So the constants are our whole numbers that are by themselves. So in this case, 3 and 22. Next, let's go through where our pronumerals are. So in this case, we can see that we have the presence of x over here and over here. But overall, we just say that our pronumeral in this overall algebraic equation would be x. After this, let's have a look at what is our coefficient. Now, our coefficient is the number that is in front of the pronumeral. In this case, 8. Finally, let's have a look at what all the individual terms are. We have 8x as a term, 3 as a term, x as a term, and 22 as a term. And that is the overall breakdown of how to look at algebra and its terminology. Hopefully you found this intro to algebra helpful, and if you did, comment in the chat. This is Alex signing off for now. Hope to see you all in the next one. Stay sharp.